everybody, Crystal here with the Crystalina Perspective. Wow, it has been a while since I have had a little chit chat with you guys, etc. So I'm going to try to keep this video really short, but I did want to give you guys an update, talk about the first 6 months working as a registered nurse, and kind of give you guys an idea of what I am doing now. So let's hop into it. The last time we chatted, I told you guys that I was getting ready to go work in the COVID ICU. I did that. I also passed my ATI NCLEX, and I think I talked about how I got all the questions. I have to go back and look. Be right back. Yes, guys, I had to look to double, triple check so that I'm not telling you guys more information than I need to tell you because you already know. But yes, the last time we chatted in November, which has been quite a few months ago, yes, I had successfully passed the RN NCLEX, and I passed on the first try. Praise the Lord. I was a COVID ICU nurse. I am no longer a COVID ICU nurse, and I also basically had developed various skills, etc. So let's talk about it. So I worked in the COVID ICU for 6 months. I did write a blog post about the top 5 things that I did learn while working inside of the COVID ICU. So I will attach that blog down below for you guys. I'm doing quite a few little things. I am still creating crafty content on here, crafty and planner related content, but I miss my nursing world. I miss my nursing babes. I miss checking in with my nursing peeps. So I really wanted to make sure that I updated you guys, let you guys know how I'm doing, and let you guys know where I'm at. So when I had done that update video back in November, I think I had recorded it in like maybe October, uploaded in November, not really sure. But I basically talked about my challenges with working in the COVID ICU and etc. Well, in November the 6th to be exact, your girl got engaged. Look, let me turn it around. I don't even know if the camera is gonna focus. There we go. So your girl got engaged, and we are getting married December 18th of 2022. And it is a destination wedding, so that is so exciting. I may do a little bit of wedding content here or there. I may not. We'll see. I don't want to make any promises. But at that time, I had made it to month 3 of working in the COVID ICU. And y'all, is that right? Yes, that was month 3. And in November, the COVID ICU kind of like sloughed off. Like we weren't getting as many COVID ICU patients. So I was getting more medical ICU patients. Like I got a liver resection. I got chronic pancreatitis. I got all types of different things. But it was in December when the downward slippery slope of COVID madness started to pick up here in the state of Arkansas. And this is when I grew disgruntled with my job. So the beautiful thing about nursing is that it is a career, which means that you can literally do any and everything that you want to do. You don't have to stick around and stay in a nurse residency program if the role is not fulfilling you. You do not have to start in med-surg if you don't want to work in med-surg. You don't have to do any of the stereotypical things that people tell you that you have to do. If you have a great resume, great contacts, if you've made contact with that particular hospital, like maybe you've done clinicals or something and you've shown your skills, then a job will pop up for you. Trust me, I know. So that's how I landed my job in the COVID ICU, because as you guys know, working in an intensive care unit, it's very tough. It's very rough. So I demonstrated my skills over the summer last year and was offered a job. I was told as long as I wanted it, it was mine. So I did accept the job. And while there were a lot of bad portions to that job, what I learned is I learned how to advocate for myself. I learned how to speak up and advocate for my patients and their families. And most importantly, I learned that there is nothing wrong with a single question. In fact, if you're not asking questions in healthcare, you gotta go, because that's unsafe. So as I was previously stating, in December, things just kind of went downhill. And what I mean by downhill was that the culture of nursing has changed. So there's a lot of toxicity in the field. There are nurses that feel stuck, which I'm not understanding. You should not have to feel stuck, not unless you're in a contract that says that you may have to pay a whole bunch of money or something, and you don't have that money. But there are so many opportunities. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, you can go work in case management. You can work in an office setting. You can work in the clinic. You can work in research. Nursing is like literally one of the biggest careers you can embellish yourself into. It's not like you have to go take a certification course to prove that you can be in med-surg. It's not like you have to take a certification to prove that, you are capable and able to work in the ER. It's not like you have to take a certification to become a case management. Now, the job may prefer you to get certified, but typically they'll train you in the areas and help you to get the national certification. So nursing is a broad field. So a lot of people that I was running into while working in the COVID ICU were feeling stuck. So let's back up. When I was offered the job, I was under the impression that the people that I will be working with were core staff members. What I learned when I got the job was that none of those people were core staff members. In fact, they were travelers. So I had made all these relationships with travel nurses who are like gone, like they did their contract, they peaced out. Two, I was not a fan of the orientation system. For example, and I'll talk about my current role probably in another video because I don't want these videos to be too long. But like in my current role, I have a standard orientation schedule. Well, in that role, it was all over the place. I did have a common preceptor sometimes, but my preceptor was a travel nurse, which I have nothing against travel nurses, but you have to understand that a travel nurse is a resource. They come in, they help to aid where need be. They may not know everything about the facility, about the culture, what services may be offered to core staff members. So that was difficult because there were a lot of things as far as the hospital that my preceptor did not know. He did everything he could to teach me the skills, and everything that I needed to know when it came to taking care of the patients. But as far as core hospital things, it was a no. And I ended up getting off of orientation like 3 weeks earlier than what I was supposed to. Now I know y'all saying, girl, you was an LPN for 3 years. Girl, you've seen a lot of those things. Girl, it was just 3 weeks. No. Orientation is exactly what it is. It is your opportunity to have an additional nurse, and not saying that you won't have nurses that are helping you while you're on your own, but orientation is the opportunity for you to answer all the questions, try to do all the things, and if you make a small mistake, you can learn from it because you have someone that's precepting you to help you to understand the process of why that was not correct or why that was the correct way, and you should continue to do it that way. So my orientation was cut short because they needed nurses on the floor, and I was not happy. I pushed back, but ultimately they won. So once I got on my own, it was just a lot of unfair stuff happening. Like at the facility I work at, a lot of times charge nurses was thrown into staffing, which was not helpful because when we got overwhelmed, then nobody was there to help us. We ended up getting triple in the ICU. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, you're complaining. Med-surg nurses get way more patients. But what you have to understand is that when a person is working in an intensive care unit, you may have patient A who has 8 different critical drips going, and you may also have patient B who also have a ton amount of critical care drips going. And if you got that many drips going, if you have 16 drips going on 2 different individuals, You're liable to mess up. You're liable to be unsafe, and you're liable to injure someone. So, and typically you get 2 patients anyway, but then you throw in a third patient that their acuity may not be as high, but they may be on some type of machine, like a BiPAP machine where air is getting forced in. So you're having to monitor them. It's a lot. So that's how it ended up going for me. There was one point where I had 3 intubated patients. They each had about 8 drips. So at this point, we are beyond 16 drips. We're at 24 drips, because when you count drips, you have to count all of your sedation, all of your paralytics, all of your sedation/pain medications, all of your paralytics. Lord, don't put them on some type of drip for their blood pressure, because not only are you monitoring the blood pressure with the arterial line, but you're also monitoring the drug, because you're having to titrate up, titrate down. You're doing a lot of different things. And at the same time, you're not trying to kill anybody. So that's when I knew in December that I had to peace out. It was month 4. I did not know what my plan would be, but in December, I got into a very bad altercation with the physician, and it was bad. Long story short, patient was on like 4 cardiac medications. Patient was placed on a Precedex drip, which is a sedation drip. It helps with anxiety, those things. Patient was intubated first off. So patient was put on a Precedex drip by the pulmonologist, so that way patient could be extubated on this particular day. Patient's heart rate dropped 50 and below. Side effect of Precedex, understood. However, since the patient had a cardiologist, how it works is typically at the facility that I worked at, it wasn't like an academic teaching facility. You called whomever was over whatever system. So like if you had a patient that had infectious disease like COVID, or a patient that had a pulmonary issue like respiratory failure, on the ventilator, BiPAP, high flow, nasal cannula, etc., called pulmonologist. A GI issue called the gastroenterologist. If they had a surgery, called the surgeon, etc., etc. So since this patient had a cardiologist that was on file, that had been following the patient since the patient had been at the hospital, I pick up the phone, and you literally had to call. It took you to like a med exchange center. They, put in that you're calling, and to call you back at whatever number. Call the cardiologist and say, hey doc, I want to let you know that the patient is experiencing some bradycardia. I'm sure it's from the Precedex drip. However, the patient is trying, the pulmonologist is trying to extubate the patient today. So that is why the Precedex drip was started last night, to create comfort and to decrease anxiety in the patient, so that the patient could successfully come off the vent. Cardiologist immediately stop the drip. Okay, doctor, can I get an order? Just stop it. Can I get an order, doc? And add 50 milligrams of metoprolol PO. Okay, doc, so you are aware that patient is on this, and this. I understand that. Add the other medication. I went to my charge nurse, explained to my charge nurse that I was not comfortable giving this patient with a low heart rate 5 cardiac medications, and that I called the cardiologist. I documented in the chart that I called. I documented what the cardiologist said, and I also documented that there was not an order, although I asked the physician if they wanted to give a verbal order regarding the Precedex drip. So I received a phone call back from the cardiologist and was told that I need to go tell the pulmonologist that he or she needs to do X, Y, and Z. Excuse me, sir. First of all, I am the advocate for the patient. I don't sit up here and I don't come up with plans to diagnose and treat. I carry out orders. Yes, I can advocate. Yes, I can say, hey, I think this, and this would be great in a treatment plan. But ultimately, I'm not about to run over there to the pulmonologist and tell him, you need to do X, Y, and Z. No, cardiologist, you need to pick up the phone and talk to the pulmonologist. And as doctors, y'all need to have a doctor-to-doctor communication to talk about what is best for said patient. Cardiologist got pissed, hangs up the phone. So I had another patient that I was caring for. I'm in that patient room caring for the patient, made the charge nurse well aware. And so as I'm in the room, Cardiologist goes to the next room. Patient's spouse is in the room. Spouse is just totally lost because spouse was told that, today was the day. Patient is coming off the ventilator. We're going to see how patient do, blah, blah, blah. Cardiologist comes in and say, no, this isn't going to happen. Although cardiologist did not talk to pulmonologist. So as an advocate for the for the patient and the family, as the advocate, but I go in to try to see if I can soak up the information and regurgitate it to the spouse so that the spouse can understand, because said cardiologist is talking over family's head. Cardiologist get angry, tells me, you, points, you, get out. Excuse me, sir? Excuse me, ma'am? Excuse me, doc? Rudely asks me to exit out of the patient's room, exits out of patient's room, and cardiologist immediately, why are you pushing back? How would you treat this patient? First of all, doc, I wouldn't treat the patient because I am not an advanced practice practitioner. However, I will advocate. And if you feel the need to stop whatever regimen, talk to the pulmonologist. Those are just home meds. I just added another home med. I understand that, but when I called you to talk to you, and that was the gist, guys, when I called to talk to the cardiologist, I asked for parameters. Typically, when a patient is in any hospital room, they have parameters, especially if it's a cardiac drug. Sometimes for respiratory and other systems, they may have a parameter. Like neuro, they have parameters on like what their blood pressure should be, what the ICP should read, how much drainage should be coming out of drains, X, Y, and Z. So typically for any type of cardiac drips or whatever, there is a parameter. The parameter could be, you want the map to be between this and this. You want the systolic to be between this or that. Like there is a parameter regardless. So that's why I initially called, because I did not know what the heart rate parameters were, because patient had a history of afibrillation, which is an arrhythmic disorder of the heart. So I'm just trying to dot all the I's, cross all the T's. And Doc is coming at me crazy. Doc gets so loud, guys, in this hallway. Doc is clapping at me. Doc is pointing at me. So I simply stated, you can't seem to know how to talk like a professional. So I'm going to go get you a nurse manager, nurse charge nurse, nurse supervisor, nurse leader that can help you to relay the information I'm trying to tell you. Nurse manager and supervisor understood. This is when I knew the Campbell's back was breaking and cracking. Charge nurse came at me crazy. You should just do what the doctors say do. I don't understand why you just can't do what they say do. The last time I checked, ma'am, this is my license. I am going to protect it, and I am going to advocate for the patient. Whether all y'all hate that or not, that's what I'm doing, because right is right, wrong is wrong. And this is wrong. Like, we're trying to get a patient off of a ventilator, and you're pushing back, telling me I need to go tell the pulmonologist to do X, Y, and Z, when you are the one who has this authority, should be doing this. So after that incident, I became that nurse that challenges doctors. Although it literally was me asking a question for a map, and the medical director spoke with me and was like, yes, I do see that there is no doctor-to-doctor communication, because what ended up happening was the pulmonologist came into the room, said something totally different to the family. Then the internal medicine doc came, said something totally different, and said, forget the pulmonologist and cardiologist, that they was taking over. And I was like, you know what? It's too many of y'all with big heads. Instead of collaborating to figure out the best form of treatment for this patient, y'all sitting up here trying to be the big wigs. You're childish. So after that, it just became a downward spiral for me. Very downward. Like, I was the nurse that got pushed back. Nobody wanted to help me besides travel nurses. I was told that you just need to stay in your place and you need to do whatever it is they say do. It was just nasty. There were many instances where I had patients that were about to code, and I would mention it to the charge nurse, and the charge nurse is like, what do you want now? And it just was negative. It was negative, and I was like, somebody got to go. It has to be me. So in January of 2022, I was like, I'm gonna stick it out. I haven't been here 6 months yet. I'm gonna try to stay to 6 months. I was really trying to stay the full year, but January was just like defeat after defeat after defeat. And on top of the defeats, guys, you're constantly seeing patients die. Like, one day in January, we put 4 patients in a body bag. And I was like, okay, this is messing with my mental. This is messing with my compassion. This is messing with me. And I don't feel cool bagging these people up, knowing that it was more that could have been done. But you don't want to listen to me because I'm that nurse that pushed back. So it was literally like a Sunday night, midnight, y'all. I basically came home. I was defeated. I couldn't sleep. So I got on the website, the different websites, and I started looking, and I was like, if I'm going to switch jobs, I'm gonna go to a job that allows for me to not work with adults. I'm getting out of this ICU setting. I'm doing something different. I'm gonna challenge myself. This is gonna cause me to have to learn everything about nursing all over again to this specific population. I was like, because what I have learned is that vulnerable populations get better treatment. Example, NICU, pediatrics, L&D. The treatment is a lot different from the providers. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you feel different. And I hate to say that because there were so many physicians and even nurses that was like, oh, that's an adult patient, they gonna die. They gonna die. They gonna die. I'm like, dang, can a person get in here and make up their mind if they want to live or die? Can they figure it out first? So it was just toxic. I came home, looked on different websites, couldn't find anything that I wanted. I specifically was looking for WISSLE, which is Women Infant Service Line. I was looking for anything in that or pediatrics. There was not many pediatric positions that appealed to me though. So I just kept looking. And then where I am currently working had not 1, not 2, but 3 positions open. They had a position in labor and delivery. They had a position in the neonatal intensive care unit. They had a position in postpartum. I think y'all already know what your girl did. Applied to all 3. Period. That Tuesday, I was told that they wanted to interview with me. I interviewed that Wednesday via Zoom for L&D and the neonatal intensive care unit. That Thursday, I was offered the job for both L&D and NICU. And I just had to figure out which way to go. That Friday, they called me for postpartum to interview. But that Friday, I had already made my decision. And so I went back and forth between L&D, NICU, L&D, NICU, L&D, NICU. I chose the NICU. So that is my new job. That's my new adventure. I'm not going to sit here in front with you guys and say that it's been an easy past it's been 2 months, almost 3. I'm not going to sit here in front with you guys and say that it's been easy because it has not been easy, okay? It has not been easy at all. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything about NICU because I don't. In fact, I know nothing. I'm literally learning for real because you got to understand my whole career of nursing. It'll be 4 years in September. The Lord says the same. 4 years. 3 of those years, 3.5 of those years, actually, I have spent working with adult patients. Totally different vibes. I did like a PD patient and a few pediatrics in the clinic, but not like what I'm doing. The neonate body system and care is 100% different than the pediatric care as well as the adult care. Totally different. So that's why I wanted to pop back on here, talk with you guys, because I do want to share more of my neonate ICU nursing journey. I have been learning a lot, guys. I have been learning so much. Orientation has been so structured. I think I'm going to do a video talking about like the first 2 months working in the NICU and how my orientation has been structured. Since I am an experienced nurse, I do have 12 weeks of orientation. I am down to my last 2 weeks of orientation, guys. And like, I'm on vacation the 3rd week of May. And then the 4th week of May, when I come back off vacation, sits on her own with the little bitty babies. So it has been a journey. I have been learning so much. I will be writing blogs about my NICU experience. I have a few more COVID ICU nurse blogs in me, but after I get those out, that's it. Like, washing my hands with that. I am in a new grad residency program. So I did leave my last new grad residency program. I am in a new one. And in this new grad residency program, we meet every other month. And it's things to help me to build my career. Not me going for 2 hours to learn about kindness. So with that being said, that is my update. Lots of things going on, lots of challenges, but I did want to show my face. I did want to reemerge back into the nursing world. The NICU isn't such a controversial topic, and I did not feel comfortable talking to you guys about working in the COVID ICU. I did not feel like arguing with people about whether you should or should not get a COVID vaccine. Quite frankly, do whatever you feel like it is for you that you feel like you need to do. But my expert opinion and advice is always to be vaccinated, stay safe. But I'm not going to knock you for doing what you want to do, because you are your own being and you do have your own beliefs and etc. So I did not want to come on here and fight about that. So that's why I did not talk about my COVID ICU journey at all. So now I feel more comfortable reappearing on camera for YouTube to talk to you guys about the nursing world. If you are in a position where you are miserable, do not stay. I will talk all about like ways and methods on how to effectively leave a job and not burn bridges. So it's more coming, guys. I'm so happy that I can say that. So hopefully you guys are all doing well. Thank you guys so much for rocking with me, for tuning in. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. But most importantly, share my videos and information with your other friends. For all of my UARC peeps that are in the online LPN to BSN program, I wish you guys all the best. And for all my other babes out there that are, maybe you working on your LPN, your RN, ADN, your RN, BSN, whatever it is, go get that money, get that education, do what you got to do to live your best life. So until our next video, you guys have an amazing day. Bye.